and they said that Building 7 had already fallen. They called it the Solomon Building because it was owned by this guy Solomon. So watch this.
Heard a few moments ago was talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing, and indeed it has. Apparently that's only a few hundred yards away from where the World Trade Center towers were, and it seems that this was not a result of a new attack. It was because the building had been weakened during this morning's attacks. We'll probably find out more now about that from our correspondent Jane Stanley. Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building?
Now when they throw it to her, Building 7, the Solomon Brothers building, is still standing over her shoulder, and they're talking as if it had already fallen. So let's watch.
Behind that, there's an empty piece of what was a very familiar New York skyline, a symbol of the financial prosperity of this city, but completely disappeared now, and New York is still unable to take on board what has happened to them today.
Presumably there were very few...
So that was the BBC and in real time on television telling you that the Building 7 had already fallen when it hadn't fallen yet.
They didn't know what it was. So they didn't know what it was because they're from England, right?
So So watch this. So now this is from Alaska. This is a news report debunking that.
Well, it's been a point of controversy now for more than a decade. A researcher now from the University of Alaska Fairbanks is weighing in.
World Trade Center Building 7 was not struck by a plane, but did collapse hours after the Twin Towers. Well, now Dr. Leroy Hulsey, a civil engineering professor at UAF, he led a 4-year study which reevaluates whether Building 7's collapse could have been caused by fire, as was determined by the National Institute for Standards and Technology in 2008. Hulsey says his findings were a resounding no, and his simulations paint a different picture than the federal agencies.
So we virtually simulated the building, and we looked at that analysis, and we also virtually simulated what they did. We couldn't get it to do what they were at. They did.
A group called Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth paid for the study. The organization is petitioning Congress to call for a new investigation into the World Trade Center destruction. A spokesperson for the organization says one of its supporters approached Dr. Hulsey about the research, partly because of UAF's reputation.
When we started talking to Dr. Hulsey, it became very clear that the engineering program at University of Alaska Fairbanks was very strong. And Dr. Hulsey was the chair of the department, and he had a lot of experience in modeling structures and doing forensic investigations. And so we thought it was a perfect opportunity for us to move forward.
The study is now open for a 2-month public comment.
So how bad is a job has the establishment been doing? They've done so bad that even normies are looking into what really happened with Building 7. Every major narrative of the United States government is collapsing like Building 7. And let me bring on Dr. Leroy Hulsey. He is a professor emeritus of structural engineering at the University of Alaska Fairbanks, who has investigated the failure of the World Trade 7 building, Center Trade 7 building, the third building to collapse on September 11th, 2001. A recent study from Dr. Hulsey and his colleagues from the University of Alaska Fairbanks challenges the official explanation for World Trade Center 7's collapse. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So now, so you have impeccable reputation. The people who are interested in this came to you. Did you have your own, just watching it on 9/11, did you have any doubt that it was happening the way that the establishment news was telling us it was happening?
To be honest with you, I didn't even know a Building 7 had collapsed.
Oh, really?
Really.
Okay.
I did not know that. And particularly when they started telling me about this building, I said, I don't think I'm going to do this. So then they came back to me again, and I said, I don't think I'm going to do this. And then on the third time, I said, okay, I'll put together a proposal. I decided, okay, I'm old enough that if they take me out, no big deal. So anyway, I just said, okay, and I put together a proposal, and they accepted that proposal to do the work through the University of Alaska Fairbanks as a research project. So through that process, and I went and I got it funded. then I looked at the normal way of doing things and looking for students to work with me. And I had a lot of undergraduate students that really, really were excited about it. But when they took it to their families, they decided they better not.